Welcome to the IF3 Big Mountain event. Your hosts for the evening are Amy Jane David and Cody Townsend.
Well, good evening, free ski and snowboard fans. Welcome to IF3, the Big Mountain TV show. I am Cody Townsend. I am a professional skier, have been for about 20 years, so that means I'm very old. And tonight, we're going to have a great show for you. First of all, IF3, it's been going on since 2007. It is one of the longest running free ski and snowboard and film festivals out there. And these days, I think it's so important to have these events to showcase so many different filmmakers out there. We're not in the age of one or two film companies. We have hundreds out there. And IF3 brings them all together and highlights them for you, the audience. So tonight we're going to be going through a bunch of the guests, the people that make these movies happen. And alongside me for the evening, I want to present to you my co-host, Amy Jane David. Amy, how's it going? So introduce yourself. Who's Amy?
Hi, Cody. Thanks. Who is Amy? Well, hi, everyone. Welcome to the IF3 Big Mountain Show. I'm so excited to be here as your co-host alongside Cody. I am a skier and have been for my entire life. That's something we can all have in common here, the love of the mountains. I also produce content myself, working with the Sawtooth Avalanche Center. And again, I'm so excited to be here. So Cody, something that you and I have in common is the Sawtooth Mountains, where I'm coming at everyone live from. And in the Sawtooths, you were able to ski some of the classic descents on your 50 project. And I was also able to ski the Sickle Couloir, and maybe I'll poke a finger that I got it in fresh powder. However, you got to ski it with somebody who I have looked up to my entire life, your wife, Elise Sogstad. And watching the two of you ski the Sickle Couloir was definitely a highlight, getting to look back and think of what it was like myself. But with Elise, you and her just had a baby, and I just wanted to congratulate you on becoming a dad.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Amy. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm balancing no sleeping and figuring out why my 2-week-old son is crying and trying to change diapers and do all that. And it's been a great adjustment. Elise and I have been looking forward to this moment for a long time, and it's awesome to welcome a kid, a son, a little Indiana Christian Townsend to our family. So thank you. And as far as for the evening, yeah, like I said, we've got some great guests for you. I'll go through those right now. We're going to have Sam Kuch, professional skier from Nelson, BC. Brian Hockenstein, a filmmaker and storyteller from BC. Alexi Godbout, a filmmaker, professional skier. The legendary snowboarder Leanne Pelosi, up-and-coming skier Cole Richardson, and Dustin Craven, a professional snowboarder from Revelstoke. But before we get into that, I want to thank our sponsors, the people that make this happen. First, it would be Audio-Technica Canada, the makers of these headphones I'm wearing right now. Steam Whistle Brewing, King Snow Magazine, Forecast Ski Magazine, and my buddy Mark Warner at the Low Pressure Podcast. So thank you all to the sponsors for making this night happen, and IF3 continue to happen.
And tonight we have some incredible films that we're going to be showing. There's quite a list here, and I'm just going to read off some of those. We've got Altascope Films, Substance, The Mountain Tribe with One Step Ahead, Edward Clem Media with Must Be Nice, Ty Dayberry, Future Free Heel, Part 2, Jackalope TV, Le Rêve de l'Est, Peak Performance Productions, Polar Circle, The Blueberries with Source, Seeking Nirvana with Canvas Oasis, and Strictly with Wildcard. There's also a whole second round coming at us. We've got Head Free Ski with Frame of Mind. We've got Jan Russis from Source, Line Skis with Aspect, Bug Visionaries with Home Lines, Laurent Desmartins with Simply, Summit Lunch Productions with Summit Fever, and Shimmer Film, that's a tricky one to say, Shimmer Film with Wavy, And the last film will be Something Good, Something Great. We'd also like to encourage everyone to tune in on social media by following IF3 Festival, and that's where you can find all the news about the past films, the upcoming films, and the awards show that's going to be following the Big Mountain Show in the next few days. So get all the up-to-date info with IF3 Festival on social media. And now, Cody, I think you're going to take it away with our first guest.
Yeah, I'd like to bring in Sam Kuch. If you're not familiar with Sam, I don't know what planet you've been living on, because Sam, over the last couple of years, has taken the ski industry by storm. Has just, in certain ways, shown up out of absolute nowhere and just absolutely showed what is possible on skis, things that I never thought was possible. So, Sam, let's bring you in here. Let's see if you're... Sam,
what's up, Cody?
How you doing, man?
Good. How you doing? Hey, everyone else.
Good. Here in rainy Tahoe, winter started. So quick, tell me first where you're from, how old you, what you do. Tell me, introduce yourself.
Yeah, from Nelson, BC. That's where I wasn't born there, but I was raised there since the age of 2. And started skiing when I was also 2 years old, basically right when we moved to the Kootenays. And I've been doing it ever since. And just as of recently, it's kind of become more of a profession, and basically living out where my dreams were right now.
It's awesome. I really liked Frame of Mind because it kind of, tells you your story and kind of like how obsessed with skiing you were as a kid, and you can just tell that drive from such a young age. But I want to ask, like, coming from like a small town, like a small area of Nelson, do you think it was like tougher for you to get the exposure and kind of the network necessary to break out as a pro? Like, how was it coming from such a small area like Nelson?
Yeah, Nelson's a funny little spot because it is kind of a bit of a black hole as far as BC goes. Like the whole scene is kind of around like Whistler, Pemby area as far as Canada goes. And so it was kind of difficult getting the name out around there. It's funny because there's so many production companies coming out of Nelson, like big names like Free Ride Production or Free Ride Entertainment and Sherpa Cinema. Like those two big brands came out of Nelson, but there's so many more media companies than there's athletes. And yeah, it's just a bit of a blank spot. I think people like to keep to themselves there.
Yeah, I think so, but I feel like you and Cole and these new guys coming out are starting to put it on the map as this new hotbed of talent, and it's been pretty cool to see, because having visited Nelson, it's an amazing little town, and the mountains amazing, whitewater, and obviously the backcountry is amazing. Moving on, like, one of the things that's like really set you apart is like you're kind of a wizard when it is incorporating tricks into natural terrain. But in Here Goes and some of the other flicks we're starting to see, we're seeing more and more doubles out of you, more tricks straight from the park. And like, how are you learning this stuff coming from a ski resort with no park? Like, it used to be those park skiers from like Breckenridge and then moving to the backcountry and taking those tricks, but you're taking it from almost the exact opposite way. How are you learning doubles?
Yeah, I get that question a lot, actually. I'd say it's all trampoline. Like, I've bounced on the trampoline since my mom was a gymnast, and so she was always an advocate for getting us out there and kind of getting our air awareness going. So like we had trampolines. I always watched skiing and looked up to park skiers. So are you losing me here?
We did, but we got you back.
We all good? Okay. I'll just pick up where I left off. Always look up to park skiers and loved the tricks, loved the style. And so I'd basically just bring that idea and practice on the trampoline. And then also at Whitewater, we'd do a lot of jump building, my buddies and I. So kind of just learned them all from, doing bounce on the trampoline, and then a lot of visualizing too. Like, I think visualization is kind of the key in my head to learn all these things. Like, just imagining myself so deeply doing these tricks over and over again that it's almost like I've done it a few times before I even try for real life.
Cool. You can see that in you know, in your edit from Here Goes, and just seeing you working on that, and makes sense. Your mom's a gymnast, and how much of a gymnast you are, and how much air awareness you have. And speaking of that, kind of like, what are your goals moving forward? I mean, you've kind of are kind of revolutionizing what is possible on skis, in my opinion. What you're
Thanks.
doing
Appreciate
is
it.
what people had envisioned skiing to become, and you're actually doing that. So moving forward, like, what is your goals as a pro skier, and are you going to be trying to tackle even bigger lines and tackle Alaska and all that? What do you want to do with this?
Yeah, I'd love to go to Alaska. That's definitely on my bucket list. And but as far as my next moves coming up, I think this year I'm going to try to link up with Cole Richardson more. Him and I really, he's kind of has the same energy going. He's starting to push the limits in the backcountry, and pretty much, yeah, similar path that I took coming up, and a similar style as well. So him and I are going to join forces and keep putting out content and pushing each other harder. And I don't know, we'll see where it takes us.
Cool, Sam. Well, thanks for joining on, and we're actually later in the show going to have your buddy Cole and your partner coming on to interview him, because he just kind of blew up out of the scene as well. So,
yeah,
cool, Sam.
I want to give
well,
a big
it's great
shout out
talking
to
to
Cole.
you.
He's killing it.
He definitely is. So, we'll have a good one, and we're going to go to a quick commercial break before we get to our next guest.
Thanks, Cody.
Your heart swells, and you get tears. We get choked up all the time. It's a special feeling as a parent to have a child who's succeeded in exactly what they want to be doing. I think that if it wasn't for part of that visualization that he used to do as a small child, that those creative lines that he made with his fingers, I don't know that I don't know that he would have the same creativity. He's definitely drawn from his youth. He's very playful in that way.
Welcome back, everyone. We are about to bring on a very special guest, Brian Hockenstein. He is a filmmaker, a producer, and a storyteller, and his film is part of IF3 this year. It's called Resilience, and that's an action sport documentary film about big mountain riding, human resilience, and what it means to be truly connected. So I would like to welcome Brian Hockenstein.
Hey guys.
Hi, Brian. Thanks so much for joining us. I am really excited to talk to you a little bit tonight. Really admire the work that you did in Resilience. And I figured first we could kick it off with just getting a quick background on your filmmaking history.
Yeah, absolutely. So I grew up in Montreal, just right near here. I'm actually at Belle-Neige here at the screening. And I grew up in Montreal, and 20 years ago, or a little bit more, I moved out to Whistler with my good buddy Sean and a bunch of other crew members. And we used to make these really junky little snowboard movies called the 514 movies, in the vein of the 418, our heroes. And one thing led to another, and I continued on the path and made it into the backcountry, and here I am.
Awesome. Now, making films in the backcountry is quite an undertaking. And in this film, Resilience, there's a lot of different elements that went into that, from the characters to the actual being in the backcountry, and then pulling the whole story together. Can you give us a synopsis of what it was like to put this film together, and what inspired you to tell this story?
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't know. It's funny. For us growing up in the 90s, snowboarding was this amazing thing. And here in Quebec, we were ride in the parks, and there wasn't really a backcountry, but we had the magazines and we had the movies, and for one reason or another, that was always just kind of the goal. And we moved out to Whistler. I don't know what gave us the courage to do that as a bunch of kids, but again, that was just always this goal: make it in the backcountry. I remember standing on the corner of Whistler with my buddy Josh and seeing these trucks drive by with snowmobiles in the back and going, what's going on? Where do you go? Where are you going? Where are you going? And it was just this constant drive to get into the backcountry. There was just this unbelievable draw, and yeah, that's what we did, and we finally made it there.
Well, I know personally that being in the backcountry can be so healing, and in the mountain community, we're faced with tragedy more often than we would like. And we all together have experienced the highest of highs, and sadly, sometimes that also includes the lowest of lows when tragedy strikes. And I think that sharing those experiences with other people, even if we don't know them, but through film, if it's telling a story of healing, and that whole journey that a lot of us have experienced, it can be really healing to tell those stories. And your film, Resilience, is up for an IF3 award of storytelling. And I personally have such a strong feeling of that importance of telling those stories. So I wanted to ask you what you think about, the highlights and challenges of telling a story that, walks through a tragedy and how humans can overcome that.
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, I didn't know I was up for an award for storytelling, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, it's funny. I was just talking about this outside with my good buddy Mark. We've been snowboarding for 30 years, and in Whistler for 20, 25 years, and we just kind of did this thing, and it always gave us so much. I mean, it's given me my whole life, and it's only really recently that I really kind of was able to put into words just what you said, just how healing just being in these incredible places can be. It's funny, we've something you kind of know subconsciously for all these years, and now being able to put it into words is just so special, and that correlates with my love of storytelling, and I've always been drawn to that, and kind of combining all these loves, and yeah, just being able to share that with the world. And I mean, there's also this funny thing where I came from a pretty traditional family, and I don't think anybody really knew what we were doing. So kind of selfishly, I make these films almost like, look, this is what we're doing, to my parents or to my brothers or whatever else. In this instance, this film originally came out of the tragedy of Dave Treadway, an amazing person, an amazing skier who passed away in the mountains a couple of years ago when we were working together. I happened to actually just be new friends with him when we were working at the time, but it was obviously a very impactful experience in my life, and I gained this whole group of new friends through that experience. Dave's friends, close friends, his crew members who you'll see in the film now, and the film grew out of that. And I was just drawn to sharing these messages of healing and just how beautiful it can be with the world. And then unfortunately we suffered another tragedy this year, another really close crew member, my first really good friend who died in the mountains, Dave Henkel. Love you, Dave. And it was really quite interesting. We had set up the film as both to share the story, and then again selfishly as to help us heal from this. And then sure enough, when Henkel passed away, it was ironic that we had kind of set up this framework for healing, and we were already there doing this thing, and we were able to help each other through it. And I mean, it was just so beautiful. And again, to be able to share a small part of that with the world, and maybe it can help somebody or help them through their tragedy, or just kind of help them experience something beautiful. I mean, it's the most beautiful thing ever.
Yeah, it really is. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I really look forward to to having everyone get to join in and watching your film and seeing the joys and healing that can happen through the backcountry and by being connected. So thanks so much for joining us tonight. And
thank you.
Yes, we're going to pass it back over to Cody for our next guest. So.
All right. So our next guest we're bringing in, he was a guest last year as well. He's the head of Blank Collective, making the films. He's also been on Solomon as long, maybe even longer than I have. Let's bring in Alexi Godbout. How you doing, buddy?
Good. How's the no sleep going?
Oh, it's good. It's good. Just adjusting for those alpine starts later in the year for the 50. But so actually, I introduced you in saying you might be on Solomon longer than I have. When did you get on Solomon?
2002. So I'll be 20 years this
2002.
year.
20 years. Okay, so I got you by about a year. I'm 21 years. So we've been, officially on the Solomon team for over 2 decades. And tell me about that. I mean, you went from park kid to now pretty much full backcountry. How is that? I mean, that life that you've gone through, and why have you kind of transitioned to more backcountry skiing?
Obviously skied park basically my whole life since I was a kid. Looked up to everybody that was from my hometown or the Quebecers at that point, Jeff Cusson and Philippe Poirier and all these guys, and then evolved in that and made my life into a park skier and was pretty successful as that at that. And injuries are also part of the game, and had a lot of those, lots of knee injuries. And every time I'd have a knee injury, it'd be kind of a kickback for my progression, and then the next year I'd come back and kind of be behind all the time. And then at one point, I think it was like my third ACL or something, I was like, okay, do you know what? I think we did one trip together at CMH, and on the way back with Jeff Thomas, Jeffy was like, well, I got a room in Pemberton if you want to stop competing and just buy a snowmobile and come ski some backcountry. So I pretty much at that point just let it all go and moved to Pemberton, and that was 8 years ago now, and been evolving in the mountains and learning, and it's been an awesome time so far.
Yeah, I'll never forget that trip. We had amazing snow, and it was like your first backcountry trip, first heli trip, and I just remember you stomping everything, and just you had that like perfect ability to stomp off anything natural, and I was like, well, this kid's gonna be just fine in the backcountry. And speaking of that, like with Blank Collective, like we've seen it now kind of rise year after year after year, but like what was the drive to really start making your own films? Like why are you here doing all this extra work? Because I know what it's like to put in the hours and the time and the care to produce your own movie. Why are you doing it?
Because I love skiing, and this whole filmmaking part of it gives me a bit more of a purpose. Because I mean, obviously, we all love skiing, and I'll ski my whole life. But being a professional skier at one point almost becomes. I mean, I've been, as we were talking about, I've been with Solomon and like as an athlete for like 20 years now. So it's fun to learn something else. I've never gone to university or anything like that. So learning filmmaking right now is kind of a good life-changing event for me. And I've really, really liked it. I'm glad to have also Jeff Thomas in my life to kind of mentor me and have him working side by side. And it's been a pretty good run so far.
Totally. And your newest film, Tales from Cascadia, it's looking, I mean, the buzz about it's pretty heavy. The trailer was just full fire the whole way through. It's looking really good. I still have not seen it. I would like to probably watch it later. But with that, 2020 and 2021 was definitely a challenge. We couldn't travel anywhere. We were kind of stuck to our homelands. What was it like making Tales from Cascadia, and how did you kind of navigate through what everyone's going through in this last year?
Well, luckily in British Columbia last season, there was not too many. Well, I mean, obviously there's restrictions, but to travel within BC, not too many. And we were lucky to live in an amazing place with lots of snow and lots of cool terrain and pillows and blinds and whatever, name it, and you got it pretty much. And lots of lodges ended up having a lot of cancellations. So we spent a lot of the winter at Golden Alpine Holidays with Hoji and the owner Cole. And that was super cool. Spent about a month there, and that we got so much good footage out of that. And then just being home and kind of, do what you do when you're around Pemberton and Whistler and stuff. When it snows, you go to Ski Pow, and when the weather's nice and stable, you go and ski some lines. And it just ended up working out. Stability was great wherever we went, pretty much all winter. It was super cold. It got to -30, and we froze our asses off and ski toured a lot, but it was a really good winter overall. we scored a lot. It was awesome.
I can tell you on this side of the border, I think we were all jealous of what was going on in BC last year. And before we see a little clip of it, what do we look forward to the most in Tales from Cascadia? What should we look out for? What's your standout part?
The first segment's definitely my favorite one. It's called Eagle Eye, and which I'm part of, but that's not why it's my favorite. It's just very heavy hitting and just draws you into the film. And yeah, aside from that, it's classic blank movie we've made for the last 4 years. I mean, we made 7 films, but I feel like the last 4 have it really kind of stepped up and over, and just lighthearted, fun, really good skiing, and just a good time in general. Makes you want to go ski with your buddies.
Totally. No, I think you guys have done an amazing job or stepping up as like one of the premier production companies, and it's really cool to see. So before we end that with you, I'm again looking forward to seeing it, and we're going to throw to a little clip of Tales from Cascadia, and then we'll go to commercial after that. So thank you so much, Alexi.
Thanks, Cody. Good luck with the sleep, buddy.
A land of falling water, where the rivers roar towards surging oceans and ancient giants bathe in frozen crystals. Pretty neat, huh?
What a lunatic!
The bioregion of Cascadia isn't simply a geographical sliver of the Pacific Northwest.
You got this, doggy. Come on!
It's a state of mind. A unifying identity. Not one that's just made up of volcanoes and watersheds, but of its people, its culture.
So let me get this straight. The pressure's got to be right for the snow to freeze.
Yeah, that's right.
Wrong!
Not that I would call this lot culture.
Buddy, poop with a view!
These are our tales from Cascadia.
Yeah, I think the morning session is over here. The nerves are shot and the cameras are smoking.
En direct du Massif du Sud de Montréal, 70 cm, c'est débile mental, ça fait longtemps que je suis pas raidé là-dedans. Trop beau, pas trop de monde, les gens qui sont là sont nice, les conditions sont sick. C'est à découvrir!
All right, next up on our guest list is Leanne Pelosi. Now, Leanne is a badass snowboarder who shreds big lines and catches massive air. She's based out of Whistler, and she is featured in The Approach, which is a film produced by Mad Trees, and it's also up for a nomination for Best Storytelling. Now, before we bring Leanne on, we're going to play a quick clip that's a teaser from the film that she is a star in.
So close. Respect the fan. I think I just need like a little bit more belief in myself. Really? And then I would have it. And I feel like that's one of those moments where it's like, oh, I can do the thing, I can try the thing, but if I don't actually believe that I'm going to land it, I feel like the NAR can tell.
The approach isn't always glamorous, but it's always the way to get to where you want to be.
I'm in here!
I'm ready, I'll drop in. 5.
Keep on showing up because you love the sport. Eventually you'll find the people who are able to protect you in that space and help you progress.
Hi, Leanne. Welcome to the Big Mountain Show. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. This film, I'm a little at loss for words because it is everything for the ski and snowboard industry right now. It's an action-driven ski and snowboard film that's elevating people of color, women, and adaptive athletes. And it just goes so much deeper than that. So I'm really excited to pick your brain about what it was like to be part of the film. But first off, what was your overall impression in being involved in this type of a project?
Thanks for having me, first of all, and the amazing line. I actually Googled the line that you guys did. That sickle line looks amazing. But yeah, being a part of Anne Cleary's film was a real big honor. And her goal was just to make people feel more welcomed. And it was rad to be a part of this amazing, diverse group of people. However, with COVID, I felt like I was a little bit separated from the crew because I had my own little production scene up here in Canada. But after seeing what she put together, it's so inspiring, and I can't wait to actually hang out with the crew this winter.
Awesome. Yeah, I think it's really important to show that diversity of people who all enjoy the same sport that, many people do that are often shown in films, but showing some diversity, because when you see someone that looks like you doing that sport, then it's so much easier to see yourself doing it as well. And the Approach name I thought was really impressive in the sense that a lot of us, the approach is what you have to do in order to get to your goal. If it's skiing or snowboarding, that's one thing, but then what's your approach getting to even the trailhead? A mother's approach looks so much different than, maybe someone just out of college. We all face these differences and maybe challenges or ways that we get to the mountain. What was your highlight for you in your personal approach in getting into snowboarding? That was a complex question, so hopefully that made sense.
I would say that my approach to the mountains, the thing that has drawn me in, has always been about the community. And so initially I would pull inspiration from people, and I would go out with people who were better than me. And in the backcountry, the person that held me under their wing was my partner, Jeff Keenan. And I feel like over the years that I've gotten just some more experience out there, I've been able to lend a hand and pay it forward and bring others into the backcountry. And I think that's been the most fulfilling part of being a pro snowboarder, is being able to share the knowledge and take knowledge from people and just spread the love.
Awesome. Yeah. What advice would you give someone who's looking for a mentor?
I would say there's a lot of really amazing groups out there that you can join. I find a lot of the community in our area in Whistler is on Facebook, and I really feel like I'm a part of, there's a group called South Coast Touring, and just every year Whistler has a new Facebook group. So you kind of get an idea of what's happening in the community with events and things, and just making a point of, if you want to get into the backcountry and you don't really have many friends that do it, is find out the events that are happening and just be involved, and you'll start making connections to get out there.
Okay, and now I would love to hear what your most memorable moment was, because you ride some really big lines and catch a lot of air from the photos and videos that I've seen. So I just want to know what your most memorable one was last season.
There was a few lines that I had gone to a few times to get. So finally getting like this one line that ended with in a cliff at the bottom. I went to it 3 times to land it. It just had a really flat landing. It felt good to finally land it. I didn't like going back to it several times. That can be frustrating, and it's a part of the approach to like getting a shot and knowing what to expect the next time you go and ride it. So I was proud of myself for riding better and better each time. But another highlight would have been I got to ride on the main face of Chocolate Bowl this winter, and I'd been looking at that face forever. I didn't successfully ride a sick line in there to make the film, but I was so excited about it after I switched. I got onto the camera I took the camera and made my partner Jeff go up and ride a line as well, because I was so psyched on riding. So that was the highlight, was the fact that Jeff and I we were like a little mini crew, and it was amazing working with him.
I love that, when you can switch the camera on and off with your riding partners, and the transparency that you don't always stick it on the first try, but you got to keep hiking up and trying again until you get it.
For sure.
Well, awesome. It was great.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
To have you on here. Yeah, thanks so much, and I hope to ride with you one day.
Yeah, for sure.
And we'll send it. Awesome. We'll send it back to Cody for our next guest.
Thank you.
All right, so our next guest is going to be Cole Richardson, but we're going to start it off with a little video clip. So let's get that clip rolling.
I don't know or understand this mystery. Unlock secrets lie beyond, far
All right, so let's bring in Cole here. Cole is an up-and-coming skier from BC. He's shown in the Here Goes, that edit that you just saw from, and a number of other films this year, including MSP's film and Tales from Cascadia from Blank Collective. So, Cole.
Cody, what's happening, man?
Hey, not much. How you doing? Well, I know who you are. I've been seeing your name start to pop up over the few years.
I know
but
who you
you've
are.
kind of blown up. Oh, awesome! You've kind of blown up out of nowhere. So introduce yourself. How old you are, where you're from, and what do you do?
Yeah. Well, super stoked to be on this. Yeah, my name's Cole Richardson. I'm not actually from BC. I'm from Alberta, Canmore, Alberta, to be specific. But now I ski out of BC. I spend my whole winters in BC, and yeah, I'm 20 years old.
Well, there you go. So I got that wrong. Well, you've been kind of skiing and basing yourself out of BC, and then obviously, with Sam Kuch, kind of, it seems like you guys are partnering up and riding a ton together. You guys share sponsors. And my first question in regards to that is, Nelson and BC in general has been knowing for a long time for growing some very specific stuff in the forest, but it seemed to be growing phenomenal and like uber talented skiers like yourself, Sam, Jordy, and like, how is that happening? And do you feel part of like this new generation of free skiing coming out right now?
Yeah, I would say definitely. I think, especially being a part of the head team right now, it's pretty sick. The head skis team, we've got a good crew. We've got me, Jordy, and Sam, and then a ton of up and coming shredders as well. A lot based here in Whistler, actually. I'm in Whistler right now for the actual IF3 event here. But yeah, it's sick just to see a bunch of people take backcountry. And for me, a lot of it's very new to me, and I'm very fortunate to have somebody like Sam to ropes. But yeah, it's been amazing, and just like definitely feels like I'm able to be a part of like a just big crew of shredders coming out of BC for sure.
Yeah, we've definitely seen that in free skiing over the years, these little epicenters, and then there's just all of a sudden this like generation of talent comes out of it. I mean, we've seen it at the Vernon boys, we've seen it here in Tahoe, we've seen Park City, seen these little places, and it seems like right now you're part of this new generation coming out, and it's just, I don't know, it's blowing everyone's mind, it's blowing my mind. But, one of the things I wanted to talk to you about is for decades, like skiers have been talking about taking parks to the backcountry, taking park tricks to the backcountry and taking it into natural lines. But, in certain ways, it wasn't quite happening like it was being talked about. And I feel like you guys are really, really doing that, like tricking off literally everything in sight. And so how do you see skiing in mountains that makes you want to spin, flip, and trick off everything in sight?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I try to just look at it all like it's a playground and just try to see like how I can make the terrain work, and like how I can basically turn the big mountain into a park. My background, I did compete some park and slopestyle growing up, but that's not my main background. I actually came from ski racing initially. But like, I don't know, finding a way to take like a natural powder filled slope and turn it into a terrain park is like the coolest thing in the world to me. And just like, it opens up so many more paths for creativity to then figure out, like, instead of just hitting the same jump, it's like there's a million jumps and a million different takeoffs, and being able to like make your own decisions and choose your own lines is what's really special to me. But I just like to really prioritize style, and I think like that's a great way that you can bring more style into your lines, is finding ways to add more tricks and more airs and make it more unique.
Yeah, definitely. No, it seems like you guys are taking just like, you're a lot of what would be considered like mini golf terrain and just blowing it up in such a way that it's becoming like a skate park, and it's just like seeing such mind-blowing tricks. It's been really, really cool. And you personally kind of this year have breakout segs and Frame of Mind with Jeff Thomas along with Blank and MSP, and like a lot of people don't know who you are and you're coming out of nowhere. Does this all of a sudden feel pretty sudden to all of a sudden be in like 3 ski films?
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. I mean, it's all like, to me, it's just a huge dream come true, to be honest. I feel like super grateful and super stoked, but it was all like, I don't know, these are the companies I wanted to film with my entire life growing up, like to be in an MSP movie. That was like probably my first ever goal that I've ever made. So to finally be here with the crew and kind of be in the mix of everything, I mean, like, I grew up watching your stuff 24/7. Like, I look up to all you guys growing up. So now to kind of be in the mix and be shredding with everybody and be able to go to all these premieres is like super surreal for me. And it's definitely feel like it's happening fast. It's just like this past year, it's just been like a crazy breakout, I guess, and having those opportunities all happen at once. But I mean, none of it's going over my head. I'm just extremely grateful to be a part of all of it.
Yeah, that's one unifying trait about you Canadians, is you're all very humble. But I will say I shared that same goal with you. That was my goal growing up, as I wanted to be in an MSP film, which was 2005. So when 2005, how old were you? Probably like, I don't know, 2006, 7?
2005. No, it would have been 2005. Would have been 4.
4. Okay, so yeah, that's how
Yeah.
old I am. So, well, personally, as an old guy, it's awesome to see you guys stepping up and just blowing our minds. Like, I'm really enjoying watching you and what your crew's doing, and it's really, really cool
Thank
to
you
see.
so much.
And on that, like, you know, Sam talked about it a little bit, but what's next for you guys? What are you guys trying to do this next year and beyond that?
Yeah, I mean, it's all kind of in the works right now. We're trying to figure out our plans for the season coming up. But as Sam mentioned earlier, me and Sam are going to be teaming up this winter a bunch to just try and do a bunch of stuff. We're going to be filming together, I think, for MSP again. And we're going to be working with Arc'teryx to try and do some duo stuff. And for me, it's just like awesome to go out with Sam because me and Sam have a very similar vision on how we approach the mountain. So to feed off each other and just be able to like shred it always works out well. So we're just trying to keep that rolling and keep pushing each other. And yeah, for the future, man, I mean, just really take it as far as I possibly can. That's my biggest goal. Like it's been my biggest dream to do this my whole life. And now that I'm kind of getting some opportunities and seeing some of those dreams come to fruition, it's just keep taking the steps and just see how far we can take it.
It's awesome. Well, as an old guy that's been in it for a long time, I'll give you one piece of advice: is just make sure you have fun along the way because it's a whole blast along the way. So, but Cole, thank you so much. Looking forward to seeing all your segs this year, both tonight and through the rest of the movies. And we'll be keeping our eye on you. In the meantime, we're going to throw to a quick commercial break, and then we'll be back for one more interview.
Okay, thank you so much. Super nice to chat with you, Cody. Have a great night, guys. Peace.
Likewise, Cole.
Yeah, man.
All right, I'd like to welcome our next guest tonight, a legendary snowboarder, Dustin Craven, and he is featured in Oh Man. So, Dustin, welcome to the Big Mountain Show. It's great to have you here.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Cool. So, your snowboard film was shot in the interior of British Columbia, and you're riding lots and lots of pillows and deep powder. And so I wanted to know how you go about finding the different zones that you film in, because it looks like you're pretty good at it. And then tell us about your favorite zone and how you look at it creatively to ride.
Yeah, I mean, just doing it for so long, you kind of spend so many years driving around out there, and you just drive around more and more, and eventually you just kind of like see things, and then over the years, you piece it together. Maybe something that 5 to 10 years ago was kind of out of your league, you go back to and you get into, and maybe have a dream and make it happen. But I don't really have like a favorite zone. I just kind of anywhere around Golden and Revelstoke here is usually pretty good. It's all pillows are so snow, like precipitation and like how they're holding up. So to go to do them, it's like you kind of only get one shot to go to one zone and do them for the day, and then you kind of have to move on. So yeah, just trying to see as much as we can and do as much as we can and have as many opportunities as we can.
Awesome. Well, it sounds like you have a lot of experience in this area. Can you give us a quick synopsis of your background with snowboarding and how you got into filming?
Yeah, I started as a Calgary kid growing up at COP and did contests for years and kind of chased the contest until 2010 when I tried to go to the Olympics and failed. I was an alternate there. And kind of after that, I decided to move to Squamish and just go 100% backcountry and film, and went out there and learned a lot from the old boys like Benji Ritchie and Aaron Niemela and Mikey Rands. And then just kind of went back to my roots, always being in Golden and the Revelstoke area and wanting to ride pillows and kind of take a different approach, more freestyle approach to pillows.
Well, it looks like a really fun approach. Very enjoyable to go out there and ride pillows all the time. All right, so we get to see all the glory shots in the film, but can you talk us through what kind of goes on behind the scenes as far as your system for avalanche safety when you're out in the backcountry?
Well, like you're only as good as the people you're with, right? So it's like so many of us in our group, we've all taken avalanche courses, and we talk about it. There's a lot of just every day, like all of us read the avalanche report, and when we meet up in the morning, we kind of talk about what's going on as we snowmobile out. You're looking at stuff, you're making decisions, you're seeing how the snow's breaking off the side of the trail on your snowmobile, and you just kind of, as a group, have to make a game plan whether you want to push on or not. And I think just realistically, just being with people that you're confident in, and if something happens to me, I'm confident that they're going to get me, and if something happens to them, I'm 100% going to be there for them. And I think that's super important.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's important to talk about like how you're practicing your avalanche rescue skills throughout the season. So we get to see, all the action all the time, but I think it's great that you guys have a really dialed system and can talk about it with other up and coming backcountry riders and skiers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
I mean,
so
it's best to not have a scenario, but I was just going to say it's best to not have anything happen. And if you can get away every season with like nothing bad happening, then it's kind of like, obviously you're checking some boxes that you should be.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we wrap it up, I remember seeing a very steep spine wall in your film. Can you describe what the day was like when you went and rode that?
Yeah, there's a really steep spine wall. It's actually, I tried it once before a Kazu's movie. It's with Eagle Pass heli skiing. And that year I actually did a turn and then got hit by a pretty bad slough and got at the bottom of the spine. I do like an air, and that year I actually got drugged and smashed. My goggles had like a scratch in the lens from hitting the rocks. And I was probably 4 years ago, so I'd always wanted to go back line and just kind of let it rip. So it was awesome. That's kind of like my favorite shot in the movie because it meant so much to me having previous history with it.
Yeah, I mean, coming back for redemption can be really, really sweet. So I'm excited to watch the rest of your film. Luckily, as I was looking through it, I went right to the spine section. So
oh, perfect.
Awesome that you got to come back and ride it and have that memorable moment. Well, all right, we actually have a clip of your film that we're going to share with everyone. So thanks so much for your insight on the avalanche safety and a little taste in how you find your zones. And
yeah,
we're going to play your clip now. Thank you
very much for having me. Thanks a lot.
We'll see ya.
Oh my God.
right. Well, there's our interviews for the evening. Personally, I think it's really cool to get to talk to some of these people, especially all this new generation of talent and having been in the ski industry for so long. So, yeah, it's really cool to see this, what's going on in skiing and in snowboarding right now. I really enjoyed it. How about you, Amy?
Oh, I feel so lucky to get to talk to these people. The guys and gals who are shredding it and putting in the effort to put it into a film. Yeah, it's incredible to get a little of that insight into their worlds.
Totally. And yes, I know as a film producer, it is not easy work. So to see what's going into it, and behind the scenes is cool. Before we get into the movies, which are going to be up shortly, I'd like to thank one more time our sponsors that make this happen. So Audio-Technica Canada, Steam Whistle Brewing, King Snow Magazine, Forecast Ski Magazine. I'd like to thank all the guests tonight as well for coming out, for doing what you do, for talking with us, answering our questions. And then we're going to be throwing to the movies. Anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, I would just encourage everyone, if you're not already following IF3 Festival on social media, make sure you do that. They've got updates every day on what's to come with the awards show tomorrow. There's a lot of great films that have been showing in the last few days. And you can also find the past live shows on the website of the All Girls and the Urban. So be sure to check them out on social media. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in tonight. It's been a pleasure getting to chat with some of our guests, and I'm really looking forward to seeing these films, so we might as well get into it.
Yeah, let's throw it to the films. Let's go to the IF3 Big Mountain TV show and the night of Big Mountain films. So, as we said in the beginning, a lot of great films. Stay tuned. I'm going to be right after this break. Otherwise, anyone out there, thank you so much for joining on. Thank you, Amy. Thanks, everyone, for making this happen. And until next time.